Hello, everybody. Hello, Johnny. I'm glad you've come.
Hello,
On
René.
behalf of the Trier Germany user group, welcome to today's Salesforce ISV Landscape session. My name is René. I'm the user group leader, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. Our guest and speaker is Johnny L. Msaoubaa from Salesforce ISV Sitetracker, a large and well-established company in the space. The session today will have two parts. An explanation of Sitetracker that is extended and a relative Q&A. You can ask questions anytime. For that, please raise your hand or rather save them for the Q&A. So let's get started. Johnny, the stage is yours.
Right. Thank you very much, René, for having me. And it's good to be back with the Johanna Trier group. I think since my last intervention a few years ago in person, it's good to do a digital one now from my new position at Sitetracker. So first, a word about me. I'll introduce myself to the audience. I'm Johnny Msaoubaa. I'm a team lead and delivery manager for France and Luxembourg within Sitetracker. I work for the solution delivery team, so we are responsible for implementing the solution that I'll discuss in a bit. In a very similar fashion to the way a Salesforce project is implemented, the way you would implement Sales or Service Cloud, we would implement our own Sitetracker solution and sometimes CRM as well. We'll see that later. I am 15 times Salesforce certified, including application architect, and have been working in the Salesforce space for 10 years, 3 years of which have been with Sitetracker. So soon, on the 15th of May, I'll have my 3-year anniversary at the company. So the agenda for today. First, we're going to have an introduction to Sitetracker, see who we are, what we're about. Point number 2 is going to be sort of the reason why Sitetracker was created. Companies within the infrastructure domains have had asset management problems due to complexity of managing everything that goes with deployment and management of assets. Sitetracker came in with an idea and then with concrete solutions. We're going to take a quick look at our customers, very well established, both enterprise, multinational, and small startups. Point number 4 is going to be the asset lifecycle management itself. We're going to look at the different steps and the different solutions that Sitetracker offers along the way, the different modules. And finally, we'll take an admin's eye view, I would say, on the technology stack, how Sitetracker is built, and the people in my team that are delivering it and implementing the actual projects. All right, so I'll start with an introduction to Sitetracker. So Sitetracker is an ISV that has built its own product on the Salesforce platform. We were founded in 2013, and we have customers all over the world, globally, in North America, in Europe, Latin America, Asia Pacific. We are around 400 people distributed globally. Personally, I work out of Spain. I have colleagues throughout Europe and the Americas and Asia. We have more than 370 global customers, some of which we'll see on one of the slides later on. Our customers tend to stay with us once they contract. Our retention is at a very high 98%. And by the second year, our customers are 2 times as large in terms of license count than they were when they first signed. So the implementation team, or the services professionals, as we call them on the slide, we're over 100 people, and we've implemented more than 1,000 projects, be it onboarding new customers or adding new modules and features to existing ones. Sitetracker is a company that heavily invests in developing the product, in research, and also in incremental improvement as well. So year over year, we've invested 40% more into the development of the product and research and development. We also offer many services like integrations as well via MuleSoft and post-sales support that's included. Now, that's a quick glance at who we are as a company. And now we're going to see a bit, what do we do? Where did the idea for Sitetracker come from? What was the problem statement? And what are the solutions that we have put in place? Okay, so asset management problems, Sitetracker solutions. Now, taking a look at this slide, we see a headline, transforming chaos into order. Well, you might ask yourself, where does chaos come from in the verticals that we service, right? So infrastructure deployment, that's mainly in telecom, but also growing at a very rapid pace in energy, renewable energy, like solar panels, like wind. We also service EV charging companies that are going to deploy and install the EV chargers that you might use for your electric vehicle, and also different utility companies. Now, what they have in common is one problem: how to deploy infrastructure assets and how to manage them once they're deployed. Now, this is a big challenge, as you might have noticed, as the world is shifting to more digital, more renewable, more distributed infrastructure. You're going to have big problems. You know, if you're a new company starting up, or if you're an old company with legacy systems, for example, you're reporting, a lot of it's going to be manual, or it's going to go through very heavy processes demanding a lot of intervention from IT. Your data might be stale if you have on-prem servers, or if you're operating out of an Excel sheet. You're going to have a lot of problems keeping that data up to date and visible for everyone. So in terms of deploying, you might need a lot of rework operations, where you start digging a trench and you hit bedrock, or for example, you deploy a mass and you need to review that installation because something didn't go right in pouring the concrete, for example. You might have cost overruns as a trickle-down effect from all of that rework, definitely delays. So your forecasting to when the project is going to be complete is going to be inaccurate. So you have a whole set of problems that people were not really equipped to deal with. That's the complexity that made chaos. Now, with Sitetracker, we looked at this complexity and we broke it down into more manageable pieces and modules that we'll see. At a high level, there are 3 key points, and then that we build our processes on. So centralizing the data, standardizing the processes, and optimizing resources. So for anyone that's been in the Salesforce sphere and space, as I have for the last decade, centralizing data and having one single source of truth has been a key topic in the CRM and for sales processes, service processes, but it's also a topic for infrastructure deployment. Also, the standardization of processes. Make sure that you deploy your 10,000 5G transmitters in the same way, in a standardized way, right? And then optimizing resources. Of course, once you have centralized data that's visible and clean, and once you have processes that are repeatable and standard, then you can really start looking at your process and optimizing it, gaining you time and gaining you valuable resources as well. So these are the pillars, the foundations. And based on that, we broke down the process of deploying infrastructure into 4 big elements. So planning and development, construction management, operations and maintenance, and then managing the asset. So to make it simple, first you plan, then you build, then you operate your assets, and then you manage them as well. We're going to go deeper into these topics in the next slides. Okay, now Sitetracker value. As you can see from building a platform like this and providing the service to our customers, the real value drivers that they're going to get from Sitetracker is the ability to manage more projects. For example, once project management is made simpler and you've removed manual errors, then people can do more and manage bigger portfolios. You can onboard people better because your processes are clearer and easier to do. and because they're standardized as well. And then you can iterate on your process by incrementally adjusting it, because Sitetracker allows you to easily modify and update your processes that are put in place. Now, of course, that strengthens your reputation among your customers, because you're offering a better service at the end of the day. Second, once you have your data standardized, and any Salesforce admin or user can relate to this, once the data is in one place and you have it live all the time, you suddenly have a very big increase in visibility, which you didn't have before. So you can do better controls. You can make sure that the quality of the data is also enforced as well for the admins among you, with validation rules and standard Salesforce practices, as well as custom controls that Sitetracker puts in place. You reduce the risk, and then, of course, you tighten your record keeping as well. On top of that, people have a platform to collaborate on and easily access the information. It becomes their work tool every day. They connect to Sitetracker in the morning. If they want something, it's in Sitetracker. Since we're built on the Salesforce platform, you could also leverage tools like Chatter to collaborate between colleagues and become much more efficient. So those are some of the values that you get from having Sitetracker, this powerful concept, breaking down the complexity of your infrastructure deployments, and then putting that on top of the Salesforce platform and leveraging all of those tools that Salesforce makes at your disposal. On top of that, the collaboration doesn't stop at internal resources. So when I speak about internal people for the verticals that we service, telco, renewable energy, utilities, that will be a project manager, for example. So in terms of personas, you're going to have project managers. You're going to have your executives that are looking at a high level and seeing a performance of portfolio, of construction, how is the planning phase going, the burn on the budget, the health of your assets, and how much of these assets you are renting out. Then you have the finance team as well. They can easily look at Sitetracker and see the burn on all the different budgets. Now, I'd like to say Sitetracker is not a finance tool. We integrate with many of them very easily. We have connectors developed by our own teams as well that will help. And we leverage Salesforce APIs to make things simpler. But you can import data from your financial systems and put them into Sitetracker as well. Moreover, you have the field construction and the vendors. This is where companies tend to outsource a bit more, is in the construction. So if you're a construction company, you might sublet the work or subcontract the work to another construction company. You're going to deal with vendors, obviously, to purchase your materials as well. So you can extend that access to Sitetracker via a portal, which is for the Salesforce admins an experience, a digital experience from Salesforce, or a community as it used to be called, and give them a limited access to view the data, to even update some of the data, and you can control exactly what they see. So everything pours into this real-time data hub, or single source of truth, where you can really pilot your operations for infrastructure deployment out of one single tool. So that's a quick view on Sitetracker conceptually, and from a business case perspective. What problems are we trying to solve? How do we solve them? What's some of the value adds that we get from having Sitetracker? And then I'm going to show at a glance our different customers. So many logos on the slide. Since this is the Ohana 3-year forum, I'll point out a German customer that we had, Telefonica O2, which is a major mobile operator working out of Germany, for example. We've also had customers all over the world. In the Americas, like Frontier or Google Fiber, for example, are two big ones. I work on the French market as well, so you might see Corsica Sol, Reservoir Sun, both photovoltaic companies, so you can see different verticals around the world. Back to telecom, in Britain, for example, at BT and Vodafone. In Austria, A1 is one of our customers as well. In terms of contractors and constructions, you have Circe in many different countries that work with us. I worked with Circe France and Benelux. They're also in the US and Germany. Axion as well. So that's a quick glance of the many different verticals and hopefully some familiar names to help you position Sitetracker relative to which companies we work with. Right. So now we're going to take a closer look at the asset lifecycle management. So we've looked conceptually at the solution first. We've looked at some of the customers that use it. Now we're going to take a deeper look into the solution. So because Sitetracker covers a broad spectrum of things that you can do to manage your asset lifecycle, there won't be a demo today because demos need to be tailored. As you've seen, we service a broad spectrum of customers from enterprise to startups and from telecom to utilities. So there's a lot there. And there's no one size fits all demo that could be shown about Sitetracker in this forum. Already to cover the material in the slides, I would need an hour plus the Q&A. So demos can be done on demand. If there is any interest with the Sitetracker solution and somebody would like to be our customer or work with us, then you can definitely get in touch. You can contact me and I'll put you in contact with the right people to see a demo of Sitetracker. Right, so the life cycle. First of all, what is it? And then what does Sitetracker do to offer solutions about the life cycle? Okay, so as I've mentioned before, we have one complete platform that manages the life cycle from end to end. So starting from planning and development, and we'll have a slide on each of these elements later on. So planning and development, what's involved usually within that? You want to think about the deployment you're doing. For example, if you're deploying fiber to a new city, usually you start with drawing the maps and deciding which streets you're going to dig in, where you're going to put the different nodes within the network. And the development part is also securing the funds for that, getting the contract signed. Now, Sitetracker does a good job of integrating with dedicated tools in the planning and development phase, bringing in that information to be consolidated in your complete platform, and then opening the way to the other steps in the life cycle and the asset life cycle. So the second step, after you've done your planning, you've had an idea of your budgets, you go into construction. So the actual physical work that you need to do. There, based on the material that you prepared in planning and development and brought into Sitetracker, you can focus on following up on your different construction projects that you have throughout the city in the fiber case, or on a national level as well, that could happen, or international level, as we're seeing with some customers who are enterprise. You can have a centralized visibility. You can easily track progress with some of our features that I'll go into more depth on the dedicated slide. And you can know if your portfolio or your individual projects at the macro or micro level are running on time, are delayed. What do you need to do to turn things around, who to contact? That becomes much, much clearer and simpler to decide on and act on with Sitetracker. So you have actionable insight. Then once you're done with the construction, you start with the operations and maintenance phase. Okay, so all this infrastructure has been installed. Well, we wish it would run magically by itself. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So that's where you have to operate and maintain. So in maintenance, you can have preventative maintenance or curative maintenance, right? And Sitetracker covers both use cases. For those unfamiliar with the terms, preventative is planned maintenance. So when you actually decide that this piece of equipment needs to be checked, maintained every 6 months, and you plan that in advance over 5 years, for example, or 10. Then you have curative maintenance. Something breaks because of a storm, because of an accident, somebody runs into your charging station, or the wind knocks out a transmitter from a cell tower or from a roof. It's broken, you need to fix it, right? Simply put. And then you have the asset management part, which differs from the operations and maintenance part, because in the asset management, you really want to know where your assets are installed, so in which physical locations. You want to know which contracts you have. So for the case of tower companies, for example, that specialize in installing telecom towers, they install the tower and then they start to lease out parts of the towers to different mobile operators. So you can track that contracting part of the job. You can track the leasing, so you know who has installed assets on your tower. You can also manage your tower as an asset itself. That's a very good example of asset management. You could also do the same on EV charging. Some EV chargers are multi-role, so you're not only charging your car, but if you've seen it in some countries, you can also pick up your Amazon packages from the same station, or do different multifunction roles. So you can also manage your asset and understand to who are you leasing it out, what revenue you have, what's the rate of occupancy across your network of assets. And you can have very good visibility on that through Sitetracker. So I'm going to start to go into these one by one and try to explain as best as I can the different features that Sitetracker has developed.
I had a question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for planning and development and asset management, we don't have mobile, or?
Yeah, actually, the mobile is just indicative. So our mobile app, so the mobile on the slides is just indicative. So our mobile app is optimized for operations and maintenance and construction follow-up. That doesn't mean that you cannot follow up on the planning and development phase or see some asset management information. You can. However, the optimization is for field technicians to go on site and complete the jobs. And I'll elaborate a bit on that on the operations and maintenance slide.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, I'll carry on. So first, development. So what we intend to do here in the development phase are a few things. First of all, for anyone who's worked in the construction space, they'll know that a major pain point is permitting, which means going to your city council, depending on the country where you are, on your state government or whatever, and getting an actual permit to do whatever it is you're doing, whether it's digging a trench or pouring concrete to install an EV charger. And usually we see that these processes are not very centralized. They're not optimized neither. They're hard to track. They can be very elaborate. And that's where Sitetracker can come in and really find solutions for that pain point by having standardized project templates. So a project template is a model of a project that is repeatable. So every time you need to go and get a certain type of permit, for example, you can go about getting the permit in the same way. Whereas before, it would depend really on the person and how they go about it. Now you can streamline that process and also have more accurate forecasting. So you know when do you expect to get that permit, and you can aggregate all of that data into reports as well to see when you're actually planning out your work by when you would expect to get your last permit, for example, so you know that you would have the green light by that date, and then you can move on to the construction phase. So standardizing the process, that's important to keep in mind, and visibility. Now, the second thing, when I was mentioning in the slide before that Sitetracker does a good job of interconnecting with the different tools that go into the planning and development of an infrastructure deployment, we have part of the product which is called GIS Link. This is a module that is on top of Sitetracker that I have seen mostly used for fiber use cases. So a GIS is a geographical information system. It's a system that does a very good job of showing you very detailed maps of cities and even outside cities as well, of hills, satellite imagery. You can see different layers to a given map. For example, you want all the intersections within a city, and you want to know which electrical lines are running through there, where you can dig. So it's a very specialized tool that is heavily used for projects like fiber or other verticals as well, like solar, for example, photovoltaic. And now, Sitetracker has a dedicated connection and a dedicated product suite to bring all that information into Sitetracker and create that data automatically, which usually has been a big pain point. That transfer of information from the development phase into later phases like construction. Sitetracker solves this problem by having integrated connectors. So manage your pipeline and improve forecasting. I touched on that with the permitting example, but also you can apply that sort of generally to any part of your process, because Sitetracker gives you the power of standardizing your projects, knowing how much each step of the project takes, and so you can have very easily automatically calculated forecasts that you can then report on. And manage capital funds and budgets. That's the last point I'll touch on. So we have dedicated modules within the system that allow you to track for each of your major projects, let's call them, or programs, as we would call them, how much budget is allocated to that program, and then track the spend in later phases as well of how much budget you're consuming. So to give you an example of a program, if you're, let's say, installing 6G in the near future on a national level within Germany, right? So a program could be the installation of 6G within Trier or within a district of Berlin, for example, or the whole city of Berlin, depending on how you want to run it. But you have the flexibility with Sitetracker to aggregate many of your planned projects into a program and then track your funding on the program level. Okay? So we have different tools, different ways to approach the planning and the development phase, all custom built by Sitetracker on the Salesforce platform to really streamline that part of the process and make it efficient. Okay, now to the construction phase. This is where the physical work starts. When you can think of construction, even to this day, you might think of a lot of paper process or a lot of disjointed reporting between field operators and between the back office, your project managers, right? So the information transfer is not very simple. Sometimes people have to open a laptop, fill out an Excel, email that Excel. By the next day, that Excel is out of date. So you have to repeat that tedious process again. I've seen some companies use paper and do checkups on paper. So what Sitetracker does, and here we can discuss the mobile app a bit more, it easily connects the field to the back office. So the back office are going to have a project, for example, that's going to have multiple steps to complete. Some of these steps are going to be on the field steps. Some of them will be back office, like actually starting the project, getting the permits, so on. And some of them are going to be field tasks, like a site visit that people familiar with the verticals would know is the first thing you do when you go to install on any site. You first have to check out the site for yourself, and see if everything matches the description. You could also do security checks as well. In more or heavily regulated countries, that's very important and detailed part of the process. Then you can have the actual installation as well. Then a security and quality check after the installation. So all these are field activities. And now the good thing about Sitetracker is that from your project, you can have certain tasks that translate into jobs. So a job is a task to carry out for a field technician. So your project manager has a project with 3 jobs within them that he can track, and your field technician on the mobile app is going to have 3 jobs to complete. As you can see, for example, on the screenshot, you have site inspection, you have replace cables, check power source, replace power connection. That's a job that your foreman or your construction crew can complete from the mobile. And here I'll elaborate a bit on some of the mobile features that are interesting. So on the mobile, you can, first of all, have a detailed list of what each job entails. So if I were to click on the screenshot start form under site inspection, I would have maybe 20 items that I have to do for every site inspection. So that's already standardizing the process so that each job is carried out in the same way, documented in the same way, easily via your phone. Plus the added benefit, if you want to do quality inspections or checks, you can make sure, or you can require your field technicians to take pictures or videos of the work that they've done. In some countries where it's allowed, you can also geofence these pictures and videos, meaning that you can make sure that the coordinates of the picture taken at the time it's taken appear, so that, for example, your field technician is not re-uploading old pictures from a different site and saying that the job is done. Now, of course, this can be switched off for security reasons in countries that do not allow the tracking of people's coordinates. We also have that option to completely turn that off. But in some countries, this is allowed. And so you can fully leverage the mobile device's capabilities, like from taking photos, videos, geolocation, and others. And the added value is that the mobile app is directly pushing the data into the centralized database. So everything is in near real time, as long as you have connection on the mobile, is appearing in the back office. So the transfer of information is instantaneous, whereas before, if you had a physical paper, you had to go back to the office with that paper, somebody had to type it in on a computer, or if you had to open your laptop, you had to fill out a tedious Excel, you'll make manual errors, there's no data validation, email that, and then you risk stale data the very next day. With Sitetracker, everything is instantaneous. You have clear visibility and transparency, and you have a single source of truth for all of your operations. So those are jobs, those are field forms, 2 concepts that are attached to the main project that the back office project manager is following up. And everything is copied from one source to the other in real time or near real time based on your connection. And also for those that might be working in parking lots or in, I don't know, rural areas, you're the first one to install a tower there. The mobile app has offline capabilities as well. So your field technicians can work offline, and then as soon as they have a connection again, your data gets synced, it doesn't get lost. So we also have offline capabilities. Now, assume we finished the construction phase, we followed up on our different projects, on the actual physical work, everything is very well documented. We forecasted when the work might be done. We've hit those forecasts, or we didn't, but we caught it on time and made the proper corrections. And now our infrastructure is ready to go. What happens next? It's not magic. You have to keep working at it. So the operations and maintenance phase. This also has a good interconnection and use of both the desktop, web app, and your mobile app as well. So in the same way that a technician is assigned a job. He completes a form, so a list of items for that job. On the construction phase, you can do that as well on the operations and maintenance phase. So maintenance, you can group into two large families: preventative maintenance, where you plan 5 or 10 years in advance the dates at which you need to review and maintain your different equipment. So Sitetracker offers modules to automatically create those tasks, those jobs that are going to then be assigned to your different field technicians. Sitetracker also has dedicated screens for assigning the jobs to the technicians as well on the field. So there is a bit of planning that can be done with good visibility on who's doing what at which time. So you can really be ahead of the curve with preventative maintenance, and again, have that preventative maintenance within the full context of everything that happened before it. The actual construction project, the construction team's notes on the particular site. So you have that site information that's already available at the fingertips of your field technician as well. If he needs any information on the site, you can make that available on the mobile app. And so the information transfer is really seamless, and you start to have this frictionless environment throughout the entire life cycle, with one phase building on top of the other. We also have the curative maintenance as well. For those of you that have seen the screenshots, it's showing a ticket. So a ticket is usually a support ticket, a break fix ticket. Could be a complaint or a remark from customer. That's more on the curative side, where a ticket comes in. You could assign it to a queue, as you would do in Salesforce as well. Somebody takes a look, and then they can decide if this is a ticket that can be closed with an email, or if you actually need to send somebody to the field. And then you take on the same process from there. You create a job, you assign it to a technician. The technician goes on the field, completes the job, completes the data on the form on the mobile, and that's fed back to the back office person that's handling the ticket. And then they have all the information they need, really a click away, to answer the customer and provide better service by saying, look, here are the photos from the field. You could also generate a PDF, a report from the field saying the work has been done. You can tailor the PDF to look and respect your company's formats as well. Send that to the customer. Here you are, job done. Whereas without this suite of equipment, you can imagine how tedious that process is going to be. If the field technician has one mobile app, and then the information needs to be integrated with another app to generate the document, and then somebody needs to email that document to the person, and then if there's any error, it becomes very complex and chaotic, whereas with Sitetracker, it's structured and streamlined. So for the operations and maintenance, it's really building on top of the previous phases as well. That's what we need to keep in mind. And finally, asset management as well, which is once you've installed your infrastructure, and if you are a company that manages assets, like a tower company or like a solar company, that's where you can have, I would say, the other part of running a network, which is the contractual part, right? More back office work. So you can know on your sites and on your projects what are the contracts that have been signed. You can have leases as well if you're leasing out your equipment, your mast, for example. You can also forecast the different payments that you're expecting for this lease. So we have an engine that's going to generate payments as well. You could have indexation year on year, so all that's taken into account. You can track compliance as well. You can manage the life cycle. So if you have planned upgrades, not just maintenance, You can also input that into Sitetracker and repeat the cycle again, right, with your assets. If you need to upgrade a whole bunch of assets, change batteries, install more powerful transmitters, then you have everything from the previous phase that you can build on top of to restart a new cycle as well, where you plan and develop, you construct, then you maintain. So the asset management part makes sure that you're fulfilling your contractual obligations towards your customers, make sure that everything is centralized as well. If you need to review a contract, it's within the context of the actual site, the actual location. You know which assets are running on the location, what's the history behind it. So you have all this wealth of information that's giving you context to actually manage your assets once they're built and once you're operating them properly. So these are a breakdown of the different steps in the life cycle and really a very high level overview of the features that can come with these parts of the life cycle as well. Okay, so final part of this presentation, our technology and the people delivering it. So during this part of the presentation, we're going to take also as well a high-level look at, well, let's say a very simplified view of the technical stack. I'm going to elaborate a bit on a couple of features I didn't mention so far, like trackers, and a quick word about my team, so the people that are implementing these projects for our different customers, onboarding them, and then expanding on the modules that they already use. Okay, so you manage what's critical. I'm going to zoom in on a couple of features here. So maybe first I'll explain the graph, and then I'll zoom in on a couple. So you have the outside layer of Sitetracker, which, when I mean outside, it's outside of the core web app and the mobile app. You have GIS Link, which is, again, an integration with GIS systems, geographical information systems. You have the Connect portal that's giving a view to external people, much like an Experience Cloud would give a view to your customers or partners into your CRM. The Connect portal gives a view for your vendors, your customers, or your subcontractors into your data, so you can collaborate more efficiently. Then we have modules per industry as well that I mentioned during the course of different slides. I'm not going to repeat. Then you have some core functionalities like the trackers, for example. So when I joined Sitetracker, I had about 7 years of Salesforce experience. And then I first used the tracker features, and I said to myself, oh my God, like, if only I had something like this during my CRM days. So what is a tracker? A tracker is very similar to a sheet. You have many spreadsheet programs, but that's incorporated within your Sitetracker implementation. And on a tracker, you have many of the classical spreadsheet functionalities that you would find, including mass editing. So that's a feature that I really lacked when using the core platform, is to edit many records in mass very quickly, grab a cell, and then drag that value onto many other lines. So database and the information are being updated real time. Also on trackers, what's interesting, I could activate a feature that's going to show me all the different updates that other people are doing as well to the data. I can filter based on column, like column headers, like you would see on different spreadsheet programs. I can group my data up to 7 or 8 groupings. And really, it's a very powerful tool to edit in mass my different data and manage my portfolio of data in a very, very quick way within Sitetracker. So Sitetracker, it has trackers in the name. It's really one of the core features that we have, really gaining time for anyone that has to manage data en masse. You can plug in analytics as well on top of the standard reporting. Standard reporting is very similar, or it's the same as Salesforce Platform reporting, so your reports and dashboard modules. You can also plug in analytics and then do some intelligent analysis of your data using AI, so you can predict more accurately your forecast dates for a given project, so when each step would be finished. AI can help you do that, or you can do very advanced reporting and graphical or graphs on your data as well through the use of analytics. Finally, maybe I'll remind again the template engine. So everything many features in Sitetracker are templatized, like the projects. So you can standardize your process and move all the different steps of a project onto 100 projects very easily using a template. You can templatize jobs as well. So you make sure that all your site visits follow the same steps and have the same items to complete for your field technicians. So templatizing is a powerful feature of Sitetracker, and it fits the need to deploy repeatable infrastructure. So infrastructure that you have in the thousands, like your microwave antennas for 5G, or if you need to deploy 5,000 EV chargers, you deploy them all in the same way. So you build a template, and then every project and deployment uses the same steps within that template. So you really have a streamlined, standardized process across the board. Now, into the tech stack a bit. Sitetracker is built on top of the Salesforce platform. I have another slide that shows that. So you leverage the data storage, the security as well. That's very reliable with Salesforce. You can leverage Hyperforce. We know in the EU we have several regulations for data security that require the physical servers to be within the EU, so you can use Hyperforce and choose the country where your server is hosted. You have the role-based permissions, so profiles, roles to the admins in the room. That's familiar. And you have the APIs as well. For anything you build, APIs are being generated by the Salesforce platform. And then you can integrate all of this with your IT landscape as well. So your ERPs, not going to name names, but we're all thinking of the same one. Your GIS tools with IoT as well. You can implement SSO with different providers, identity providers. And now that Sitetracker has a sizable number of customers, we're starting to see more and more Sitetracker to Sitetracker integrations between, for example, a construction company and a network operator. They're both running on Sitetracker. They both need project information or asset information from each other. And because it's the same platform, the same technology, the integration becomes much, much easier. So this is the slide that I mentioned before on the tech stack. So this is a more simplified view. Going from the bottom up, we're built on top of the Salesforce platform. Essentially, for those that are technically savvy, Sitetracker is a package you install on your Salesforce org. Your Salesforce org doesn't need to have specific CRM products like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud. You can just take the platform license and then run Sitetracker standalone. Or second option, you can install Sitetracker in the CRM org and do some customizations to interconnect your sales process, for example, Sales Cloud, and then make the one opportunities feed the Sitetracker pipeline, so you can go from sales cycle to plan and development easily. And we also use Heroku for some services as well, some modules within Sitetracker. So very Salesforce heavy foundations. Then you have Sitetracker on top of the foundations as well. So it's our app, it's our custom code, it's our objects, it's our data validations, and so on. Some of the front-end features, for those of you familiar with LWC, use JavaScript, React Java. So again, within that very well developed and mature ecosystem and tech stack. Then on top of that, you have some peripherals like the mobile, which interconnects near real time to Sitetracker. And it's a mobile app we developed. And then you have the APIs as well. So you can use the standard platform APIs from Salesforce. You can have custom integrations as well with our teams. We'll see in a bit that are going to put a customized API layer if a customer needs it via MuleSoft to interconnect with the rest of their IT stack and really connects Sitetracker and bring in all that information and maybe push some information out when it's needed. So you have one central hub for running your infrastructure projects. Okay, final slide. So this is a shout out to the solution delivery and expert services team at Sitetracker, of which I'm a part. We're the ones responsible for implementing the solution. So Sitetracker is its own solution, but every customer has their own flavor, has their own requirements and specifics to their country, to the region, even some places, to how they run their business. So we're here to, first of all, understand your requirements in depth. We have many people with consulting experience and a BA background that are really here to listen and to interact and that know the solution very well. So we can start to bring your requirements in very high detail and the solution as close as possible. We have 100+ people across solutions, integrations globally. We also have our dedicated project managers as well, Scrum certified, dedicated training team. When we finish an implementation and you have maybe thousands of users waiting on the other end, the training and onboarding doesn't happen magically. You need dedicated teams for that. Global coverage. So I've worked out of Luxembourg and Spain among the list so far. But we also have people in Germany, UK, US, Singapore, India. And last but not least, we have a certified partner network as well. I work a lot with partners that implement our solution. They're certified with Sitetracker certifications. We have our own certification program for implementing the solution. Also something we recommend for our customers to be certified and well acquainted with the solution. So our partners do a very good job of implementing Sitetracker. So we've done more than 500 successful implementations and counting. This is a very dynamic number. Every day we're going live with somebody else. More than 75 live integrations. Our customer satisfaction is quite high. Renewal rates, as we've seen on the first slide, quite high. A number to be proud of. More than 70,000 users are using Sitetracker, and including vendors, more than 2,000 critical infrastructure firms. So in the verticals I mentioned are in the Sitetracker landscape and ecosystem. So our mission, again, just to emphasize on this, we understand each business's unique challenges. We deliver on the success criteria that they've chosen. We support the adoption, post-go live, continuous growth, and we really set up our customers to benefit from the platform and to succeed even more in what they're doing. One more thing to add to the slide. On top of being Sitetracker specialists and specialists in delivering the solution, we also do other sorts of expert services, such as implementing a CRM for some of our customers as well that would like to benefit from Salesforce features. We implement integrations, obviously. We can do advisory as well. So not necessarily technical work, but more business process oriented work. Giving best practices as well, since we have a lot of experience across the globe in these verticals. We can really guide our customers to safe waters, and set them up for a Sitetracker project or other project and really help them along their path to success. So the expert services team is something that's coming along quite nicely. Yeah, and that was the presentation. Thank you all for listening. And now we can go to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, Johnny. I'm really happy to have learned about all of this to this extent. Thank you for this great presentation, really very informative and very streamlined delivery, easy to follow, very well explained. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's open the Q&A. So maybe Dominic should go first. He has a question about the detail of the photo documentation.
Yeah, maybe I'll stop sharing as well so I can see any questions. All right, go for it, Dominic.
So if he might be away briefly from his screen for whatever reason, his question is about the photos, namely if the EXIF metadata are leveraged for the geofencing, I think.
Yeah, actually, that's quite a detailed technical question. If you would like to be more aware about the ins and outs, that's something we can do separately. We could arrange a private call with our product team, and we could elaborate some more on these questions.
Yeah, clearly. Anshul, do you have maybe other questions?
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have maybe one or two questions. So as we are going into the big golden age of AI, Johnny, could you maybe say a word on what might be coming in terms of AI assist in Sitetracker?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Rene. Actually, thanks for doing that. We have many pilot projects that are going on with some of our existing customers as well. So some of that might be around computer vision. So for those familiar with computer vision, it's the analysis of an image, a photo that's taken. Some of the use cases in construction. Now, of course, I'm not forward-looking statement. I'm not saying this will or will not be part of the product in the near future or in the future. But things around computer vision, analyzing photos taken from the field are being explored. For example, you can do a quality check on the image itself, see if it's blurry or not, and in more advanced versions as well, see if the work, whatever it may be, was properly done, like proper cabling, or, for example, you could measure the depth of a trench. And that's one avenue. Another avenue might be, for anyone familiar with the ecosystem of Salesforce, might be around agents. So we are exploring options there. So there's definitely a lot of exciting developments. We're an R&D heavy company. So we are looking at the moment into many different avenues to develop in. We'll make official product announcements once something is GA or in beta. But also, as I mentioned as well, there is AI analytics. So to help companies with the forecasting of the different steps of a given project, that can be interesting and a good use of AI in predictive models with Sitetracker.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. One can imagine that Sitetracker's customers would provide a really good pipeline of such requests to Sitetracker.
Yeah, definitely.
Another more administrative question maybe, what about your release strategy? Are you following seasonal Salesforce releases, and how does that go in general?
So we definitely keep a very close eye on the Salesforce seasonal releases to make sure we stay compatible. So we are also part of the ISV partner programs as well with Salesforce. So I think it's an Ohana accredited. I forgot the exact name. Sorry for that. But we are Ohana certified, our package. So we don't count against governor limits. But yeah, we do keep a close eye on Salesforce releases, but we also have our own release cadence as well with major and minor releases. So major releases are multi-year, or I don't want to give like specific timelines, but they are longer term. And then you have minor releases, of which the cadence is quite frequent, I would say. So we are very dynamic when it comes to keeping our product up to date, releasing new features. And again, for our customers, we definitely elaborate much more on the details and timelines of this.
Yeah, of course, that would also explode our available time. Let's not go there. So it's good to know that there are frequent releases that would usually benefit also existing customers, right?
Yes, exactly.
Owing to the cloud nature of the solution.
Correct.
A small question, if there is a quick answer possible, as you're working in the team as you described, what is typically the starting point, and how does a new prospect manage their requirements and compare them to Sitetracker's capabilities? Is there a very guided system for this, or?
Yeah, actually, we have a flexible system, so we can be very prescriptive, as we like to call it internally. So when the customer, sometimes we've had the use case where it's a new startup company, for example, and they say, our processes are always evolving. Can you recommend a way to go about implementing Sitetracker? And we'll take your best practices and make them into our actual business process as well. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum might be a customer that has done a lot of preparation work in advance of the project, comes in with very clear requirements, a good understanding of the platform, and then the project is more of implementation and refinement of existing requirements and recommendations on best practice. So really, that's why we have a team of very experienced people with consulting background, so we can cover the startup that is asking us for a business process, and we guide them really step by step, up to the company that has tried and tested processes and just wants to transpose them on Sitetracker. There as well, we bring these two as closely as possible, and it's a very streamlined and quick project in that case.
Yeah, thank you for shedding light on this key aspect of adoption or solution selection.
Yeah.
The last question that I would ask you, the certification program that Sitetracker has, could you briefly describe it? And I suppose it is more intended for partners and employees as opposed to just anyone, right?
Yeah, correct. So so far what I've seen on the certification program, well, I'll explain a bit the format of the certification. These are digital. We used to do in-person courses as well before COVID, obviously. These are digital classes that people attend, usually half-day long classes. They have a bit of homework to do afterwards. They implement in a sandbox, and then there's a validation at the end to make sure somebody passed or not. Now, the target audience for ramping up on the many different certifications we have, some of them are based like administrator, where you learn about the platform, some configuration as well, and some of them are dedicated to verticals like fiber or other verticals. Now, the target audience would be our customers, first of all. So our customers can be fully autonomous on Sitetracker if they decide to scale up their internal team. They can, and they can put anyone who's been a Salesforce admin before or has some notions can participate in our certification as a customer, and then be able to run and maintain the platform and even do some small expansions. And then the other target audiences would be the employees like myself or the implementation partners.
Yeah, very clear. Thank you. Yeah, if there are no more questions from the audience, then we would conclude for today. Johnny, thank you for preparing all of this wealth of information and for putting the information out there to share it with the wider ecosystem. That's very valuable, I think.
Yeah, and thank you.
It corresponds exactly to the intention of our ISV Landscape Series. I leave the final word to you.
That's perfect. I'm happy to hear that. And again, thank you for having me, René, and thank you for those present for your time. It's a real pleasure to work again with Ohana Trier and get a chance to show a bit of Sitetracker to the world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Have a good afternoon and evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.